So let's talk about the roster, the overview of the roster. What are your thoughts, or some things that surprised you when the roster came out, Gerald?
Yeah, I think the big thing that jumped out to me looking at the roster, a lot of defenders are playing lighter this year. I think the couple that jumped out off the page for me, Colton Vasic's down like 21 pounds, which is a little bit interesting. I wonder if they're trying to get him to play a little lighter, a little faster. Same thing for Jalen Gilbo and Manny Muhammad. Both are down like 8 and 12 pounds respectively. And I wonder, last year, Manny Muhammad took a little bit of a step back from what he did his freshman year. And so I wonder if they're trying to get him to play a little bit lighter, a little bit faster. Same thing for Gilbo, probably playing more at corner than he is at that nickel spot. So probably needs that increase, that half a step, that extra step that comes with being almost 10 pounds lighter. Leifau also down 7 pounds. So there are guys that are playing lighter and faster on defense. The other thing that jumped out to me, Trey Moore listed at linebacker and not edge, was an interesting question. I wonder if that's just a semantic thing in the defensive scheme or what it is. If he is playing linebacker, that is a very interesting development. And we'll talk about, some other things that are happening later in the show that maybe give us some credence to where that's going. But, that to me, those are the things that really jumped out to me is that, like, it seems like the defense is playing lighter, and I wonder if it's trying to get faster, a little bit extra step, especially in the secondary.
No, I think that's a really good point. Definitely agree with you about Manny Muhammad and Jalen Gilbo. Like, I think it's for them just to play a little bit faster. I think Malik Muhammad kind of struggled with that with those certain wide receivers, not big guys that gave him trouble, but more speedsters kind of gave him trouble. So it's like, hey, why don't you drop a few pounds, get a little bit lighter, get faster? And then Gilbo was already kind of big for an outside cornerback. Like, for someone in that type of system that they want to run a lot of man with, I think he had to drop weight. The Vasek one is interesting. I don't know if I know he's dealing with an injury. If that has more to do with it, then they want him to be that weight. So it's going to be very interesting to me how that's going to work out if he is going to stay that weight. And then the Trey Moore thing, I think we're going to see a hybrid situation with him. I think you're going to see him play inside. I think you're going to see him play outside, kind of to get his draft stock up to where he probably wants it to be, because I think the NFL probably sees him more as an inside guy than an outside guy, in my opinion. Just size-wise, which is kind of weird because I think he played really well down the stretch off the edge. Once he kind of got his feet wet in the SEC, got used to the talent, I thought he played very well. But I agree with that. One thing I thought was very interesting, and a lot of people pointed this out, Bo Barnes is huge.
Massive.
6'1", 246 pounds. He's the biggest linebacker on the roster. For reference, Anthony Hill, 6'3", and I believe 233 or 234, something like that. So we're talking about 2 inches shorter, but almost 15 pounds bigger for Bo Barnes. So that's interesting. And not many guys at that weight make it. So I do think he's going to have to drop a few pounds.
Yeah, and especially with how Texas plays defense and how just defenses overall go, like that is the body of a 1997 4-3 linebacker, right? Like your classic Mike linebacker, maybe a little taller.
Anthony Wheeler.
Exactly. And Anthony Wheeler was cut. Anthony Wheeler was chiseled. So like he can play whatever weight he wants if he's chiseled like that. But that is something to keep an eye on because Bo Barnes was known for his physicality in high school. He was a thumper. And maybe he gets away with being a little bit heavier than he needs to be because he's just that level of elite athlete. But, we saw last year Texas's linebackers got picked on a little bit in the pass game. And so I think I would be curious to see what that weight looks like come fall. And then again, next spring, he maybe will trim down. Again, you don't want to take away what makes him good, which is his ability to just get in there and body people. But can he do that at a weight that also allows him to drop back into coverage and to run with the tight end or to run with the running back in the flats, right? You have to be able to strike that balance with this defensive scheme and just what modern defenses are overall.
No, 100%. And yeah, I mean, they had an emphasis, it seemed like, in guys that are going to drop back into coverage of losing weight. So a guy that coming in being that heavy is probably not ideal. They'll probably honestly want him to drop about 20 pounds. 16 to 20 is my guess, being the 225, 230 range. So I have to see what happens there, but I thought that was very interesting. Also, this one, Justice Terry only weighed 266 pounds. That shocked me. Obviously, like Anthony Wheeler, like you said, he was shredded. Well, Justice Terry is too, but 266 is very light. I mean, the best defensive lineman of all time, and he was undersized, was Aaron Donald. and he was like 285. So
Yeah.
he's going to have to at least gain 25 pounds, in my opinion, to be able to play. So that's going to be very interesting if he's able to gain that healthy weight in the short amount of time to the season, or this is more on the back burner situation, and he's not going to be able to play as much this year as we thought he was going to be able to play.
Yeah, and you know, these guys are coming from like not having nutritionists to having nutritionists and getting into a real strength and conditioning. And no shot at any high school staff, right? But that's a history teacher and a football coach and a strength and conditioning coach, right? That's just like not so like getting into a full-time strength and conditioning program, getting into a full-time nutrition program. I guarantee you, if they need him to get some weight on the body, then they could probably get it by fall. At least some of it. You obviously want to do it in a way that he does it healthily and scalably, where he doesn't lose a step. He doesn't really lose what makes him as explosive and as athletic. But again, getting these guys in a college strength and conditioning program, it's wild to see what their bodies do. And again, you mentioned Bo Barnes, a guy like that. Maybe he plays heavier and slides down a little bit. I don't know what his future looks like, but he's a guy you have to have on the field. Another one that was interesting to me, Christian Clark, not a big number, but up a little bit of weight. He was already kind of a thicker guy, and he added about 4 or 5 pounds. I don't remember the number. I think it was 5 pounds. It's like seeing him go up a little bit in weight. Texas is going to need him, and I think if Texas is going to have a solution in the short yardage game, it's probably going to come on his shoulders. So seeing him thicken up, seeing him try to be that battering ram that Texas needs, you know, there's just something to be said about, you know, mass moves mass, right? Anybody that's ever lifted weights knows that mass moves mass. And so if he's got to be bigger, he's got to be thicker, he's got to be able to put himself in those tight spots and create some space, then, you know, adding a couple pounds seems like a smart decision for him.
No, 100%. Another running back, Trey Wisner, came in a little bit lighter than expected. I think he played at like 202, 203 last year. We're talking, I think, 190, like 194. So a little bit lighter than we thought. Most people thought, hey, he's going to gain 5 to 6 pounds to put on a little bit of armor. He's actually lost weight. So again, maybe he lost fat, put on muscle. That works as well. But I probably want to be a little bit heavier in my opinion, because he's already a little guy. Like his frame's not big either. That's the thing. So I would like him to gain a little bit more weight.
And I wonder if he's dropping the weight to be more of a Swiss Army knife in that scheme where he plays a little bit of running back, comes out of the backfield and tries to catch the ball. Because he's got a solid skill set. He played wide receiver for a year in high school when he got beat out, frankly, at running back in his final year in high school. So like he's got a little bit of a diverse skill set. So I wonder if that's where they're going to go, why he's dropping the weight, to let him play a little more versatile. He's not going to be having to thump between the tackles as much anymore. So maybe it's something to watch.
Yo, 100%. Last one for me, Smith-Orogbo. Came in exactly like I thought he was. This guy's just not going to be a big-time player this year for us. 6'4", but 208 pounds. That's not going to get it done. He's going to have to gain about 30 pounds for me to be able to believe. Like, we're talking Colin Simmons is 6'3", 233 pounds, and he's still probably going to put on 5 to 6 more pounds. Smith-Orogbo is going to have to gain 30 to 40 pounds.
Eat a peanut butter sandwich right before bed. Just do it. Put on the weight, man.
Yeah, like we said, we're both big on him long-term, but this year – it's not going to happen. Yeah, Lance Jackson's going to be the guy. If we're going to see one of those edge guys right away, it's going to be him because he's just built for it.
He came in looking the part. Like he looked like he belonged when he was on campus, just hanging out for the college football playoffs. So he came in. I don't remember what his measurables were. I didn't put him on my list because it's what I expected him to be. Right? He looks the part. He has the right height, right weight. He's probably you're going to see him with a hand in the dirt sooner rather than later. Maybe not week 1, but maybe week 2 and 3, getting him on the field as quickly as can.
Yeah, I didn't check out his because it didn't eye pop to me. Like you said, it came in exactly what I expected. But I think coming out of high school, he's like 6'5", 265, 270 pounds. So like literally just could go in and play right away. Like he could have suited up for Texas and played for Ohio State. He doesn't really need to do much. Yeah. Where Smith-Orogbo is the opposite. I love him long term, but got to put on weight.
Absolutely.
That does it for the spring roster update and breakdown.